Hey guys, it's Michaela. Today I'm going to go over my craft fair that you saw a video for last week. It's actually been 2 weeks since my craft fair now, but I just wanted to go over how much I made, what I sold, all of that fun stuff. So I did take a few videos while I was there, so I'll show those throughout this video. But first I'm going to show you just what it looked like where I was. So I'll show that right here. Now, it was a really slow start. The first hour and a half, 2 hours, I did make some sales, but it just was not very fast. Okay, so it's been an hour and a half and I've made $62 so far. So I paid my booth fee and made a little extra. But this is only the second craft fair event they've had there. And so I don't know if that was why. I do know the weather was really nice that day, and it was one of our first nice days after some snowstorms. And so a lot of people wanted to do things that were outside. There was another market going on not that far from where we were, and I think it was outside. So people probably went to that one. Everyone who was there said the first one was a lot busier. So I'm guessing it had to do with the weather. Also, the place that it was at was nice, in the conference area. I had multiple people tell me they had a hard time finding where it was, that the signs weren't good, and I kind of agree with that. And I also had some people say that there were parts of the front area that looked a little rough, some windows had been broken or something, I guess, but that's kind of out of their control. If someone broke the windows, they have to wait for those to get replaced. But yeah, so it was pretty decent. I'd try it again if my results were the exact same as this one. I don't know how many times I'd do it, but I'd do it another time if they had another, just to test the water, see how that one goes. But as time went on, it did start to get busier. And I would say the busiest point of the market was 10:30, 11 to, starting at 10:30 to probably 2 hours before it ended. I think it ended at 3 if I remember right. So it would have been 10:30 to 1 were the busiest times, which is pretty usual. A lot of times people are just getting up at 8 or 9. So you might get a few people, but most of them are getting ready for the day. And then for the later point, some people are worried they wouldn't have enough time if they come too late, so they don't come, or they're having lunch with family, or like I said, it was a nice day. That's the warmest point of the day, so they were all outside doing things. Okay, so I'm 2 hours in, and so far I've made $88. My biggest seller has been my leggy frogs, which I expected. But all of my sales, I've had a lot of them, but they've been small prices, but we're going good. Now I'm going to tell you guys everything that I sold. I have a list here, my notebook with all my actual information. I don't know where I sat it. I cannot find it right now. I'll find it later. But I went through my videos and looked at everything I sold. So I have a list of everything I sold, and then after this list, we'll go over how much I actually made. So I sold, this is not in the order of selling them. I just went over and looked over. So I'll tell you how many total of each thing I sold. I sold 6 leggy froggies. I took 7 and I sold 6 of them. 2 of them were colorful and 5 of them were green. I sold 4 green ones and both of my colored ones. So it was a blue and a red one for the colorful ones. I also sold 1 bookmark, which those are just kind of fun makes. Like, I just made them to make them because I like to read. So I was like, oh, I'll use one of these and I'll make a few extra for the market. I called it a chocolate cow, and it was just a brown cow. And I sold that. That was one of my first ones to go. Actually, one of the other vendors bought it for their grandchild, I think. I sold my ghost. I had a ghost, and I think I talked about that some in one of my videos, that I was just gonna take it. I didn't know if it'd sell. It was left over from a market I had right before Halloween. And so I was like, yeah, someone might want it. And someone did buy it, and she loved it, and I was so happy. I sold 1 bee, which is good. Bees, like, I don't know, it's hard because it's winter. During the summer or the warm months, they sell better. People either love them or they just don't care about them. And sometimes they sell well, and sometimes they don't sell at all. I sold one of my brontosauruses. So I had a red one that was made with normal yarn that I sold for a little cheaper. I think I sold it for $30 because it's my pattern I made, and that pattern takes a long time, like a long time. And I know it's my pattern and I shouldn't say that, but it's the truth. It takes a long time. It's a bigger dinosaur. And then I made one with pink, thicker, it's with Parfait Chunky. And I priced that one up a little more. I don't remember how much, maybe like $35. It wasn't much more, but someone did buy the red one. I've noticed with my brontosauruses, people like the normal like acrylic or cotton yarn. So I also sold one of my tulips, which I had those out because it was right before February, or no, it was at the very beginning of February. And so I figured someone might want that Valentine's Day themed items, so I made a few of them, and one of my tulips sold. My tulips I actually made at the end of the summer last summer, so I was happy one sold because I was worried no one was gonna buy them. I sold 2 mushy boys. One of them I sold for the $8 that I sell them for, but one of them I sold for a lot cheaper because one of the guys like in charge of all of it really liked that, and then a bear I was selling, so I told him I would sell him a mushy boy and a bear. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he bought, or he bought one of the frogs maybe, I don't know, but I gave him a discount, so it was either on a mushroom or a frog. He got a discount on it, and then I sold him my bear for a really slight discount, just as like a thank you for throwing the event, because if they didn't, I wouldn't make money at all because I don't sell online. There's a lot that goes into selling online. Oh well, I'm getting off on a tangent. I gotta stay focused. So I sold those, and then I sold an axolotl. This was not a cute axolotl. I'm very surprised it sold. I was trying to make my own axolotl pattern, and let's just say it needed some practice because it was not the cutest, but I sold it at a price that was like, I'm just trying to get rid of it. And so some little kid loved it and bought it. So I was like, oh great, I'm glad someone loves it because I didn't. I sold 1 eyeball, which was another thing from Halloween. I sold one of my T-Rexes. I sold one of my penguins that, if you want the pattern for my penguin, it's on my channel. I sold a mushroom chapstick holder, and that's about it. I think that's everything I sold. I made 1 snake, and this was my first event since I made my snake pattern that a snake didn't sell, but I had someone come up who did really like it, so that's a plus. You're not going to sell everything every time. So how many items did I sell? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 20 items, which that's always my goal for most of them, is to sell at least 20 things. What do I wish I sold more? Yeah. But that's my goal. I want to always sell at least 20 things because I feel like that's a good amount. If I don't, I feel bored. I'm just sitting there. I'm not making a lot of money and I don't like being there. The selling is probably my least favorite part. I love making things, and that's what this business is mainly about. It's about the crafting part. I make money off of it, but it's more of a hobby to me that I just cannot have 5,000 stuffed animals, and I cannot afford to just buy yarn all the time. So this is how I afford it. So now I've got to make sure I have my prices right before I tell you, and then I'll tell you about how much I made, how much I spent, all of that. So I did the math to make sure. So at the market, I made $252 roughly. I think there were some cents in there because I did have some people pay with card. This was my first event where I used Square. It sucked because I have to do manual entry because the iPhone 15 does not have the same lightning charger thingy as the Square readers have, and I don't have a thing to switch it, you know, like a converter thing for my phone for that. And iPhones also don't have head jack, and that's all Square has, and it's not Square's fault that they literally made exactly what iPhone had and then iPhone had to change it, but that was not fun. It charges me extra when I do a manual entry, so that's not fun either. But that's what I had to do. That's how I had to make money, because if I didn't, those people wouldn't have been able to pay. So I know I made $96 and some odd cents through card payments, and then the rest was through cash. Except for I think $30 was Venmo, which I don't really show off my Venmo, but if someone asks, I'll do Venmo. But so that, like $120 of it, so almost half was with card or Venmo, and this is the first event I've been to where it was like that. Usually maybe the most I get is $50 Venmo. Most people don't bring cards, they just expect that they're gonna have to have cash. But this event, I'm very happy I had that availability because I needed it. So I made $252, but almost 20 of that was sales tax that I collected. I will not add sales tax. I just include the fact that I'm gonna have to pay sales tax in the price of my things to the best of my ability, because then I have to carry around change. My customers are having to think about how much extra money that is. It's just a pain in my opinion. So I just include the sales tax. Sometimes that means I just add $1 onto the amount so it's a whole number. And I haven't had anyone complain. So if we subtract that, I made $232. And then we need to subtract my fee that I paid, which was $50. So now we're down to $282. But we also have to subtract the cost of yarn I spent, which I don't know exact. So at this exact one, I would guess I made $150. It was 8 hours, I think, and I made $150. Not too bad, not the best. I don't live in a crazy busy area. I mean, I'm in a tourist area, but it's not like I'm in California somewhere. I'm in the middle of Missouri, so if we look at my whole year earnings, I think I've earned like $50 this whole year out when I'm subtracting all the money I've spent on yarn so far, anything I needed to buy for my craft fairs, my fees, all of that. but I've only done one craft fair so far, and it's important to think about like this yarn that I have spent, I think this year, $80 on yarn so far, and a majority of it I have not even touched yet. So I'm not really counting that in my budget for this craft fair. I'm trying to only count the yarn that I actually use, which I would guess is like $30 worth of yarn. Maybe a little more. Some of it was money I spent last year on yarn. So yeah, that's it though. But I'm going to show you the end result of my craft fair, what it looked like at the end, the table. There are 2 things on the table that I sold after the video, but that was pretty much it, and I didn't record it again after because when I was left, I was ready to leave. But I'm just gonna leave you guys with that, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.